Hello, my faithful audience. How is everyone doing today? Welcome to another episode of whatever it is, episode 64. You can check out my website, tstuch.com, tstuch.com. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, bitch. Taylor space Stutch, Taylor space Stutch, Stuch. Um, that's where you'll get some shit. And I upload these there. And you can follow me on Twitter, tstuch1, tstuch1. Ooh, so what's been on my mind lately? Let me go ahead and tell you, Twitter world, what's been on my mind lately. Um, ooh, man. It has been, first off, my computer is a piece of shit. That's number one. Secondly, what's been on my mind has actually been, what is it? What do I want to say here? Business. I have been listening to Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1. I mentioned it in my last broadcast, and it is a must read. It's a must read for anybody who wants to start a business or wants to learn about business. I cannot recommend it enough. It is so fucking awesome. I've never read a business book like it. I really don't read business books, but this is written by a guy in the shit. He's run several companies. He co-founded PayPal, Palantir. He's on the board of Facebook. The guy knows what he's doing. He's a risk taker. He's not just a CEO type. He actually founded companies. He is a founder. He knows what he's doing. And, he got me feeling kind of bad. Listening to his book, talking about the current philosophy in the US, and he didn't say millennials, just in general. It's an idea of people don't have a vision for the future, and we're all hedging our bets, is what he was talking about. How, we all acquire different skills and things like that for employment, to be more competitive, but we're not making our future. We're kind of passively making sure we're ready to adapt to whatever future comes. And that seems to be the kind of, the kind of attitude you have when you don't know what future to make yourself. And that's what he's talking about. And what got me a little bit off on my heels a little bit was that when I read Nassim Taleb, reading his philosophies helped make it clear to me a pathway to freedom. And one of the pathways to freedom is to not be a slave. And there are many ways to not be a slave, but one of those ways to be a slave is to have your life such that you have a minimum, like the minimum amount of downside possible. So that has to do with, hey, what's going on, Dan Carb? It has to do with not over leveraging yourself with debt, being able to say what you want freely, do what you want freely. And if you are meeting certain criteria, that you can kind of set it, you set it for yourself, right? If you're over censoring yourself, or if you feel trapped in your life, then you're not like a free person necessarily. But if you feel as though you can make different decisions that you want to make, then you're more free than most. And the only thing is, though, once you get to freedom, that's not a vision of a technological future. So that's the thing, is reading and listening to Taleb's advice, which is awesome advice. And it's not just advice, it's actual, it's kind of like a whole philosophy. It's a whole thing. It's too much to just say one thing that it is. But reading his books kind of helped me navigate a future of freedom. But from there, if I want to build a business, if I want to build the next big business, or a big, successful, dominant business, then you can't just use Taleb's philosophy. Taleb's philosophy is great to get you to the next stage. Because, in my opinion, if you want to be free to make the future, you have to be free. It's going to be very difficult to have a vision of the future when you're not free. When you are, it's going to be hard to sit around and create new things and to tinker with inventions and create new ideas when you're constantly worried about paying your rent. Now, you can do that. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but when you have the more obligations you have, the more energy is spent towards just satisfying those basic needs, those basic obligations. But if you don't have a lot, and you don't have a lot of debt, you don't have a lot of obligation, then you're free to create. You're free to make the things you want to make. And that's kind of what I've been getting from the juxtaposition of Taleb and Thiel. Taleb will get you to the maximum amount of freedom if you follow his advice, right? You'll save money, you pay off your debts, you learn about stoicism, you'll feel more free than you've ever felt. But then to get to the next stage, to move out of the realm of just trying out random shit to creating a vision of the future, that's where Thiel comes in. And Thiel talks about making a vision. What vision do you want to see? So I thought about this a little bit. The vision that I want to see, that I would like to see personally, is a vision of decentralization, a vision of personal choice maximized. Now, that sounds so cliche, but what I mean is a United States where the federal government plays a much smaller role in everyone's lives, much smaller role in everyone's lives. I'll say that again, much smaller role in everyone's lives. People have much lower debt burdens. People do not have to go to college to become employed. But what I'd like to see is the decentralization of government, more decentralized government, less power at the federal level. I would like to see a less centralized money control system. So instead, I'd like to see a more decentralized money system like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum or whatever it is out there. I'd love to see more of that. And I'd love to see a more decentralized tech and economic atmosphere where it's not just a couple big titans that control the information flow like a Twitter or a Facebook or a Google, where there's more free information out there that can't just be shut down from a couple of oligarchs, or, they're not oligarchs, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, dude. So that's what I think. And that's the future that I want to see. So what's got me, thinking about this is I would love to see more young people my age. I'm 27, 28, take more entrepreneurial risk. And I've said this before, I think that a big thing that holds people back like myself or other people is our financial position, frankly. Whoa, Nicholas, what's up? Nicholas Hahn. I was just talking about the books that a little bit about Peter Thiel and a little bit about Taleb. And I was just talking about how the future that I'd like to see, based on the article I wrote yesterday on my blog, tstutch.com, how I think, I don't know. What do you think, Nick? I'd like to see a future with the money supply not controlled by the Federal Reserve, by the federal government playing a smaller role in everyone's lives, especially in 2019, in the future, with technology and mobile and being able to be so mobile in the world. It seems to me better time than ever to decentralize, because people can move out of shitty areas into good areas. And, we can truly see, in my opinion, a more competition between states. And I was just talking about how, the debt situation, I'd love to see more people our age taking more risk. Like, Nick, you've taken a entrepreneurial risk with some of your Bitcoin activities. Uh, I've tried out a few business ideas myself, but I would love to do more. But I was just saying the financial position of people our age is tough because a lot of us spent a lot of money going to school. As a result of that, we don't have a lot of money saved up to invest in our own ideas. Um, but it seems to me that the more free that we would be, the more innovation that we would see. Yeah, that'll be on. I'll make that into a bumper sticker. So, what do you think, Nick? So Nick says people are scared to stick their neck out, but that's how you learn and grow. Ah, dude, that's so true, man. So true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Some of the biggest growth points that I saw. And dude, you know what's funny? That's a great point. So this is actually what makes me hesitant to not do things that I don't want to do sometimes. Because like there are times where I didn't want to do a particular thing in the last few years, but I thought that I should do it because of the potential growth. Um, once you know once you've experienced, in my opinion, once you've experienced growth through some kind of difficult decision, it almost becomes addicting. But it's also, it's also kind of frightening because each decision you make changes your future, and it's so funny. I know that's so cliche, but I was listening to I was watching, I looked at, John McAfee. He's so crazy, man. John McAfee I don't know what he's doing. He's like sailing around the Caribbean or the Pacific Ocean with the feds trying to get him. And he's on Twitter. And I don't know how he's on Twitter, but he posted something about, and we all know this to be true, but he was like, whenever you make your decision, whatever decision you make, that pathway that you take changes, the trajectory, or it just changes your life in such a way that no other decisions at that moment could be made except for the one that you made. Um, you know, and it makes the decisions in your life seem so much more impactful. But at the same time, that makes sticking your neck out even more nervous, more nerve wracking. Nick says he saw that tweet. Yeah, dude. You know what? I've been thinking about reaching out to him because he posted on his Twitter that if somebody has a small podcast, that all they need to do is he'd be willing to go on it. And like, I've got a small podcast. So I wonder if he would be willing to come on my podcast, which has an estimated audience of 60. And it's not even 60. It's not. But yeah, wouldn't that be some shit? That would boost my audience for sure if I did that. So I'm thinking about reaching out to him, but for a crazy whack dude who's also super intelligent, some of the stuff he puts out there is really, really on point. If he came on, you would have 60,000. Dude, you're right. You know what? I think I'm gonna reach out to him. I'm gonna reach out to him. John, I just need to figure out how I could record the podcast. And I think I'm gonna reach out to him. I was a little bit scared to reach out to him. Like, dude, he might not even respond. But the other day he had another tweet that stuck out to me. And here's what it was. He says, I'm a 74-year-old. I am 74, an only child. I was the sole benefactor of my father's wrath and my mother's nurture. I have survived the unsurvivable. If I have a purpose at all, it is to pass on what little I have retained, chief of which is leave your cage before making decisions about your life. Is that powerful or what? That is some powerful shit. That is some powerful shit, but Like when I read that kind of stuff, I'm like, is this profound or is he just on drugs? You know what I mean? Like to me, that is powerful stuff. Before leave your cage before making decisions about your life. Like you have to leave your mental prison. And you know what? It sounds so cliche. Mike Cernovich talked about leaving your mental prison. And we all think that we understand what that means. I thought I understood what that meant, but I still think I'm figuring it out as I go along. The mental prison. Um, you know what helped me recently understand the idea of a mental prison? So it's interesting. I listened to, okay, back to Peter Thiel, his book, 0 to 1. He talked about how the biggest problem he sees, the biggest setback for people creating businesses that make a difference in the world in terms of like innovation is that we don't know how to think, that it's easier for us to copy and imitate than to create to think about new shit. Um, and fuck, is that so true, man? That is so true. It's unbelievable. Um, and that's part of the mental prison that Cernovich was talking about. It's part of the mental prison that is the cage that I think what's his name is talking about here, McAfee, when he says you got to leave your cage. If you really want to make decisions about your life, you have to get in. I know I'm saying you. I can't really give advice to anybody. I'm just really thinking to myself right now that you have to get outside those limits of. You have to get outside of those patterns of behavior. Like our patterns of behavior are really grooved in tight. Like I do this and then I do this and then I do this. And it could be like the clothes that we wear or what we think success really is. Cause like we're all sucked into it, man. I'm sucked into it. You're sucked into it. We're all sucked into groupthink, into replicating what other people around us are doing, whether it be fashion, whether it be music. We're always trying to imitate other people. And that is almost like a prison in itself. And not that I don't think we can escape that, and I don't think we should totally escape it. But to be able to maybe step outside of that at times, to acknowledge when we're not able to get outside of our own prisons that we put on ourselves. That was a big thing that I realized this last year. This is one reason why I'm going to Taiwan right now in 2 months. Back in July, I had an epiphany, a realization that I wasn't doing what I could be doing. And I don't mean career-wise, because yes, I'm trying to figure that out, right? I'm trying to figure out what business I want to create, what ideas I want to create, what can I do in this world? What can I add value and create? But along the way, I had an opportunity to apply for a job, but it would have relinquished the control over my life, most likely. And I thought to myself, if I value my freedom so much, then why aren't I using it? Fucking dog. So that really jettisoned me out into this pathway of thinking recently. One reason why I decided to go overseas is because I said, you know what, man? I have all this freedom at my fingertips and I'm following but yet I'm trying to fit in to other conceptions of success and life and career, which some of that is good. But what can I take of that which is good and what can I leave of that which is not fitting for me? That's the question, man. That's the question. So anyway, that's all I got to say for today. I'd love to go on longer and I'd love to get comments, but I'm in a house which is supposed to be sold hopefully soon. So I have to get out of here so someone can take a look at it and hopefully buy it. So thank you for watching, Nick. As always, fist bump. You can go to my website, tstutch.com. You can tstuch.com. Follow me on Twitter, tstutch1. Follow my YouTube, Taylor Stutch. Peace, bro. We need to get a beer sometime and let me know when that guy's Thanksgiving party is. Peace.